The Spitfire was designed by a man called Mitchell, who was based up in Stoke-on-Trent, and it was a follow-on from the Schneider Racing Trophy aircraft, and it was brought into being in about 1938, just before, of course, war broke out in 1939. And we desperately needed a decent fighter aircraft to protect both our bombers and indeed our cities. And it was this wonderful aircraft which turned out to be a much better performing aircraft than the equivalent German aircraft, and hence the Battle of Britain was potentially won by a better aircraft, not to mention some very brave and very daring pilots. It was originally made down in Southampton at the Supermarine factory there, but they needed to expand the facility to make more aircraft, and unfortunately Southampton was too close to the French coast and the German coast and was constantly being bombed, so they decided to move it up to the Midlands, and they decided to build a factory at Castle Bromwich. Of course, a huge number of the male population in Birmingham was away fighting, and so they needed a large number of people to build the aircraft, and they turned to the female population of Birmingham, and well over 50% of the workforce at Castle Bromwich were in fact women, and they did, by repute, a fantastic job. Spitfire Gallery is something that Birmingham Business Focus started off as a project back in 2007, and we got Advantage West Midland funding to do a feasibility study to see what might be in a museum, and the recommendation that came back on the feasibility study was that in those current economic climate at that time, we were unlikely to get enough funding to actually build a separate museum, and what we ought to do would be to try and join on with, say, the Birmingham Museum and Art Gallery and try and form a separate gallery. And that's basically what happened. And over the last 3 years, an enormous amount of work has been done by Birmingham Museum and Think Tank to get the funding necessary, Heritage Lottery funding and various other charitable fundings put together, and individual donations from members of the public in the form of membership of the Spitfire Club, and that's brought it all together. The project is fully funded and, as I say, opens later this week. Inside and I had a peek preview the other day, is a mock-up of a Spitfire which is actually split into sections, so you can see inside of what the fuselage looks like and the cockpit looks like. It's a very interesting exhibition. I wasn't able to go around seeing everything working because they're doing the final touches of that at the moment, but it should be very impressive and give an excellent view of the history of the Spitfire. I think it's tremendous for Birmingham because it's part of branding Birmingham, things that we have done that we can be proud of. The Spitfire is regarded as being the most iconic aircraft in the world, and it was built largely here in Birmingham, and something that we can be justifiably proud of. Tremendous contribution by the population, particularly the female population of Birmingham, to its construction, and something, I say, that we can be justifiably proud of.